Shalom, I'm Lars Enarsson with the Watchman International, coming to you with this update on the situation in Israel on Friday, August 22nd. The conflict in Israel and in Gaza is far from over. In fact, since Hamas broke the ceasefire this week, an unprecedented amount of rockets have been fired into Israel. In one day, 170 rockets alone. That is more than the peak of the Nazi aerial bombardment of London in the Second World War. The chairman of Hof Ashkelon community or region north of the Gaza Strip said in an interview this week that the population in Ashkelon will not survive more than another month of this kind of bombardment. If this conflict drags into September and October, into the fall feasts, we cannot take this bombardment, he said. And more Israelis are now also beginning to be affected by the bombardment, being wounded by the attacks. So we must pray, friends. Now, the response to this rocket fire by Hamas has so far been by the government and Prime Minister Netanyahu to launch aerial strikes targeting the military leaders of Hamas. In one strike, 3 of the main leadership in the southern Gaza Strip were taken out in such an aerial strike. Also, the top commander of Hamas military wing, Mohammed Deif, was targeted in an attack. His wife and his son were killed. It is unclear if Deif himself survived or if he was also killed. The leader of the Hamas movement in Gaza, Haniyeh, said in a speech yesterday that history has proven that these assassinations of Hamas leaders has only strengthened the Hamas movement. And unfortunately, he is right. These targeted killings of the Hamas leadership will not end this conflict. It will not give peace to Israel. So we need to continue to pray. As we have said now for several weeks, the only way that this conflict with Hamas will end is for Israel to launch a ground operation again into Gaza to destroy and defeat Hamas, and to remain there permanently with the army and allow the Jewish settlers to once again move back into Gaza. Now, that sounds like a harsh statement, but it is true. More and more people are saying the same thing in Israel. In fact, the brother-in-law of Prime Minister Netanyahu said in an interview this week that this is the only thing that can cause quiet. And in fact, he encouraged the leaders in the communities around Gaza that were the main spokespeople leading the protests against the settlements in Gaza, that they need to take an initiative to start a new movement by advocating the return of the settlers back into the Gaza Strip again. And they need to begin by apologizing to the settlers that were driven out from Gaza in 2005. That is the only way that these communities will have quiet, because the bombardment by Hamas that is taking place now and plaguing them today is the direct result of the disengagement from Gaza in 2005. One positive development is that it's now clear to anybody that the two-state solution is not a solution to the conflict. Slowly but surely, it is becoming evident that a Palestinian state will not bring Israel quiet. In fact, it will bring the destruction of Israel. So some of the commentators now are beginning to compare the situation in Israel to the dire situation in 1948, when the State of Israel was founded. We believe that this is no exaggeration. In fact, Israel is coming to grips with the reality that they need to make no compromise with the Palestinian agenda. They need to occupy the entire land that God has given them. The two-state solution is no solution. And this is what we need to continue to pray for. While the conflict is going on now in Gaza, also we see how the radical Islamist movement ISIS is making rapid progressions in Iraq. And the West is also at odds with how can they stop this advancement. The aerial bombardments of the United States will not stop the ISIS in Iraq. And so the United States, as well as the European leaders, are tending now to believe that the only way to stop them is to begin to support Iran. Well, Iran is going to ask for favors in return, mainly that they can continue with their nuclear weapons program. So the situation is very, very grim, and we need to take our responsibility in prayer. Please go to our website, thewatchmaninternational.org, and to subscribe to the prayer alerts in the Elijah Prayer Army, where you will get additional information with the specific prayer points and the scriptures that will be the basis for our continued prayer. I'm Lars Enerson with the Watchman International. God bless you, and Shabbat Shalom.